up, guys? This is Johnny, and welcome to episode 13 of the Travel Like a Boss podcast. Today we have Dan O'Donnell from positiveatmosphere.com. What's up, Dan?
Hey, how you doing? Nice to meet you. I met you 10 minutes ago. Now we're doing a podcast.
Yeah, I mean, love these impromptu podcasts. I mean, so me and Dan, we met off of Couchsurfing, and he just dropped by Pun Space, which is the co-working office space, and he was showing me his website and what he does to make money online, and then how he travels, and I was like, you know what, this should be a podcast episode.
Yeah.
So here we are, just 10 minutes after meeting.
I like your style. I like that.
Yeah, so how the world works out. So today I kind of want to pick your brain about what your site is, how all that because it's brilliant that users generate all that content. So while you're traveling, even if you don't log on and you come back a few days later, you have more content. You might even and you probably made more money.
Yeah, I mean, you never know what people are going to post, which is good and bad. And with the software I use too, I've enabled a few people to go ahead and remove things. If somebody posts spam while I'm off on a trip with no internet. So it's pretty autopilot. It's really nice that way. I can't complain.
So the actual site itself, if you want to check it out, it's positiveatmosphere.com. Mm-hmm. What exactly is it?
So I call it a community site because I'm kind of tired of the social network buzzword, but it's a community site where people blog, they can post pictures, they can make friends. It's like a positive thinking Facebook is what some people would call it. So people are in there to inspire and empower each other. That's the mission of the site, is to connect positive people to inspire and empower each other. I believe if you put a bunch of like-minded people in the same place and give them the tools to connect, that they'll do that.
Yeah, that's really cool. I'm taking a look at it right now. I'm looking at the forums, and I see a lot of posts about people. They have topics such as my fight with cancer without chemotherapy, issues that making people physically weak, and knowing yourself. So all these things are things that people. I'm a big believer in surrounding yourself with positive people.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I think a lot of people don't have that in their daily lives. So it's a great way for people to go online and meet like-minded people like that.
Yeah, I totally agree. If you want to make a change, say your work environment isn't all that healthy or positive, that's something you can change. And if you want to, you can change that overnight. Some people, though, they might choose to kind of transition away from it, and it could take months or a year or whatever while they look for a new job. Same thing with your family. Those kind of transitions can be kind of slow. So there's other ways like this site to connect instantly with the kind of people you want to be around, and who you spend time with big time influences your own thinking, your stress level, your health, and so this is a good way to connect right away with a bunch of good people. If you have, like, a lot of people, I kind of think of it like we're an auto shop, and there are some people with a car that's kind of broken down. It's got a flat tire, it's got some scratches, somebody keyed the door or whatever, okay, and they need to get that fixed. And that might be people dealing with like a stressful relationship, or how to communicate with coworkers or whatever, and the whole community can help them fix that. But then there are other people who the car's in perfectly good shape, but they want to put some turbo, they want to lower it, they want to put some ground effects on it, they want to trick out their car. And so we can do that too. Even if you're in a perfectly good place, we can help raise the quality of your life.
Make it even better. Okay.
Yeah, I mean.
So today I definitely want to ask you about how you monetize the site, how you make money from it,
sure, how
you build this community, the software you use, and all that. But let's first talk about what's actually really important is building this positive atmosphere, like in your real life, as well as taking advantage of these tools online. I know for me, being here at Pun Space is, it's a co-working space. I mean, there's these things in every city. I haven't been to that many other ones, so I don't know how the other ones are. But I know at least my experiences here have been really positive, like motivation-wise. I mean, you've only been in for a few minutes, but what are your thoughts of it already?
This particular space, and I haven't been to a lot either, I like it already. I mean, it's quiet, it's packed, and you've told me about a few people sitting around and what they do, but it seems like it would be a contagious work environment. I think there are probably people here that help you raise the bar, I would think, with your own expectations and what you think you're capable of. So I think that's important. It's like if you want to play in the NFL, you go talk to some former NFL players, you try to get around them, you go to the camps, you watch. You don't want to go watch a high school football team if you want to make it to the NFL, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you were asking me what everyone does, and I just kind of putting around and said, okay, so that guy's a programmer, and you were able to tell just by
yeah, he's got giant screens with a bunch of Egyptian hieroglyphics all over it.
Yeah, and we have a couple guys that do e-commerce, some people that do SEO stuff.
Yeah.
But what's really cool is anytime you have a question about something that you're just really stuck at, you can just raise your hand and say, hey, does anyone know, how to code or how to fix this problem? And instantly someone's
That's
gonna help.
huge, actually. Yeah, I could see where that alone would be worth coming to a space like this.
100%, yeah. So for the people back at home, let's say you're in some small town, you don't have access to this. You can find stuff like this online, which is really cool as well. There's different community groups, like you mentioned earlier. There's one called Dynamite Circle, which a lot of people are part of, and so really wherever you are, actually, if you have nothing at all, you can use couch surfing, which is how we met.
Yeah, it's great. Couch surfing is amazing.
Actually, when you walked in, it took me a few minutes to even remember where I met you from.
Right.
I mean, all it was is you just sent me a quick message saying, hey, I don't need a couch to sleep on. I have a hotel.
Yeah.
But I noticed you're an entrepreneur. And did you want to grab some coffee or hang out?
Yeah, and there's a quick tip for anybody listening. If you want to meet like-minded people, I went to couch surfing. I searched Chiang Mai, and there's a little keyword box. And I think when I came up with you, I think I had put the word entrepreneur or maybe digital nomad or whatever, because I'm looking for those kind of people. You popped up, bang, sent a message. It's a couple days later, we're talking. And, it's not just in places like Chiang Mai either. I mean, there are people in Kansas on couch surfing. So
yeah, so you can meet people anywhere. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And if you're going to another country, even easier.
And then there's Facebook groups and Meetup.com, and Positive Atmosphere has groups. So.
I actually met up with some people from Meetup.com for something called Cash Flow. It's
the board game.
Yeah, the board game.
It's a great game.
Yeah,
I love that game.
I absolutely recommend it to anyone.
Yeah.
I've learned more about accounting. Actually, so I do all my businesses accounting, and the only reason why I know how to do it is because of that board game.
Yeah.
I took classes in school, never really learned anything from it, but by playing that game, with real, so it's made by Robert Kiyosaki, who is the guy who wrote Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yep.
The first book in the series is really good. The other one's not as good, and then now he sells some multi-level marketing stuff, which I wouldn't recommend. But Rich Dad Poor Dad was really good. Cash Flow Quadrant, the board game, is genius. It takes you need pretty big group of like-minded people to play it, so that's why Meetup's the perfect place for it, because you're probably not going to be able to get 4 friends to sit down.
And you also might not be able to afford the board game, so if you know somebody else that owns it, that's a good thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Do you know the story on that?
No.
This is good if you've got marketing people listening to this right now. The story I heard, and I think it was straight from Kiyosaki and something I was reading or listening to, but they started off selling the game at a comparable price to Monopoly, which I think they started at $29.99. Okay. And it looks about it's it's your typical board game in a little box. Yeah. It's no big deal. And they weren't selling all that well. They raised the price, I want to say, to like $2.99. It was around $300. Wow. It might have been $249. They raised the price like tenfold, and then they sold more. It created that buzz. You know how I think it's Seth Godin talks about, being remarkable, right? Like the purple cow. People are like, what? A $300 board game?
Yeah.
Well,
it has to be good.
I have to know about it now. Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly. So, that is genius.
Maybe the $87, info product. Maybe somebody needs to do an $8,700 info product that's 3 pages long. I don't know.
Yeah, you never know. Well, actually, we talked about that for your side a little bit. Where right now you're making a couple $100 to $1,000 a month from ads, right?
Yeah, from AdSense in particular. Yeah.
And we were actually saying, instead of promoting through AdSense, which really could be anything, and for those who don't know what Google AdSense, how it works, is you make X amount of cents per click, and it's actually a pretty good rate.
Yeah,
right?
And you were right on when we were talking earlier, and you said, instead of making 50 cents on this banner ad, which is almost exactly what my average is. Yeah. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, no, exactly. Instead of making 50 cents on the banner ad, why not make $47, which is half of like $80 info product?
Yeah.
As long as you can find stuff that you actually believe in.
Right.
So you can go through ClickBank or Commission Junkie, and if you find a product that you believe in anyway, why not make $40 from that instead of making 50 cents?
And and it's true, you can go to ClickBank, Commission Junction, and all that. Like, I just got approved to sell Tony Robbins products, which is awesome because I believe in that stuff. I've used a lot of it myself. I've also found that networking through, for me, it's my website and the Positive Thinking Facebook page that I run. I've found people that over time, I become really comfortable with them, and then I see they have a product, and that product isn't even on Commission Junction or anything like that. And, like Scott Goodnight is a good example, a couple authors, Lou Cavard and these guys, Jake Ducey. I'm like, hey, let me sell your stuff. I already read your book. I love it. Let me sell it. And you can just work out a deal, just a handshake type of deal, we're talking PayPal payments and how many, I'll give you X amount of Facebook posts. It's just like anything else, you it's all like, I come from real estate, and you can negotiate anything in real estate. You can use a Mickey Mantle baseball card as a deposit, whatever. And it's only limited by your imagination. And this is totally wide open. The internet's like the wild, wild west of business.
Exactly. And I was even suggesting to you, I say, if you can't find a product that you're willing to promote, or if you want to just, spend 2 months doing it anyways, make your own info product. Especially because you have such good content on there anyways. Why not, and you had the idea of compiling it kind of like that, was it the chicken soup for the soul kind of guy?
Yeah. Well, I've had, on my Facebook page, which is the positive thinking one I mentioned, we post, basically our core is pretty pictures with a quote. And, I have graphic designers that I get off of Odesk, and they take the quotes. I have a Google Doc. I share it with them. They take those quotes, and they go to Creative Commons, places like Flickr, and they find pretty pictures, and they put it on there. And we post those things just to inspire people throughout the day. We post every hour. And I've had people go, hey, where can I buy your art? And the first time somebody called it art, I almost started laughing. I'm like, art, wow, cool, we're doing art.
There you
I
go.
didn't even think of it. And then I'm thinking, wow, coffee table book. It would be, or calendar.
Why not?
Positive atmosphere calendar. I haven't done it yet, but sometimes if you just get into action and start doing stuff, you ever heard of the corridor effect?
Okay.
Like, we're walking down this corridor, and I see the door at the end, and that's my goal. And as I go down towards that door at the end, oh, wow, off to left and right, there are these other corridors with other doors, and sometimes they look better, and you end up going in directions you never planned on.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, just sitting here right now, we didn't plan on this, and it's opening all these different doors.
Yeah.
Because, you have a great site, you have a lot of traffic, you have a lot of content that's user-generated, and then, just happen to meet some guy off couchsurfing, and now you have all these new ideas on how to monetize it. And I really see potential. I mean, I think even with these couple of small changes, where let's say getting off of Adsense and promoting affiliate products or creating your own product, you can go from making $1,000 a month from this to making $4,000 a month from it without any other difference. I mean, like literally, you can get 400% more income just by changing. And if anything, it's actually better for the customers, because when people come to this site, they would love to be recommended a product like Tony Robbins.
I agree.
That works.
There's so much out there, and yeah, it's true. Once you build that kind of trust, which is why I really recommend never promoting something you don't totally believe in, or if you're going to do it, at least don't put your name all over that site, because you're going to lose credibility, and that's huge. I came from real estate, and I used to run these real estate groups where we'd get all the investors in town would get together, and we'd play cash flow, that game we talked about, and then the group would invite in these guest speakers that are on the national circuits, and we were pretty careful to make sure that we brought in people that weren't, there were some programs out there that cost thousands of dollars that weren't very realistic for our marketplace, or maybe they were a little outdated, like laws had changed, and you have to be careful, because you bring in a couple of those, you lose all your credibility.
Exactly.
With the group.
Well, that's why at first when we were looking at ClickBank, we were going through and saying, okay, are any of these products actually good? Are these things that you'd want to promote? And you were like, no, not really. But Tony Robbins is great, and I that's something I would recommend anyways. So then that's the perfect thing.
Yeah.
Or if you had created your own product, and which is something you could still work on, for the future, and it's good, and it's the best thing out there, then you'd be happy to sell it.
Yeah.
And
I'm actually creating something now.
Yeah, perfect.
I'm not talking about yet, but I'm excited about it.
Okay. I'm excited for that now too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
I'll definitely, and I want to read your book too.
Okay.
I mean, 12 weeks in Thailand.
Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah,
That's
12 weeks
cool.
in Thailand. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people actually on the podcast don't even know I wrote a book.
Oh, really?
Because I don't really promote it that much. It's one of those things where, I really enjoy doing it, because it just kind of summarizes the last four years of my life, where the first 4 years of me moving abroad, living the 4-hour work week. I got into Muay Thai and scuba diving and all that. So a lot of people actually, read it, and it's a big inspiration. So it actually is a lot of that positive thinking.
Yeah.
Where one of the big things that almost held me back was when I had decided to give everything up and move to Thailand. Every single person I told I'm going to Thailand, gave me 20 reasons not to go.
Right.
And because of that book, a lot of people have actually been inspired to come to Thailand.
Yeah.
Actually, the guy is sitting right next to me inside. His name is Alexander. He's from
okay.
the big Scandinavian guy. That was the first time I met him today, and he came up to me and said, "Hey, I read your book, 12 Weeks in Thailand, and I sold all my stuff.
Wow, no
and
way.
I'm here, and for the next 3 months, I'm going to build an e-commerce
Did he
system."
know you were here? He must, or was that a coincidence?
No,
cool.
he had messaged me saying, and I completely forgot, to be honest, that he was coming,
Right.
because to him, it was a really big life change.
Yeah.
He
Right.
sold all his stuff.
That's
he moved out
gutsy.
here, moved to Thailand, and I told him, he's like, "Hey, I'll be at Punspace every day, just come by." So I completely forgot he was coming,
Yeah.
and he shows up, big smile. He's like, like, Johnny, like, I made it. I'm here. And I was like, hi, what was your name?
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah, but he's going to do well. I mean, because he basically is following the same path I did, where I found the dropshipping course, which is AntonMethod.com, and then I followed it here at Punspace. Got surrounded by other people who are working, with good knowledge, and then because I'm in such a positive atmosphere, literally, right now it's the middle of winter, and where are we sitting?
Yeah, we're in this little garden courtyard with some dog walking around and birds chirping. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's even cool in the shade.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm from Bellingham, Washington. It's not like it snowed yesterday, I heard.
Oh,
Where
man.
are you from?
San Francisco.
Okay, that's
and
a little better.
No, but it's cold. During
Foggy
winter, it's
and cold,
yeah.
and yeah. What I was thinking too, what was his name, the guy that moved over here?
Alexander, yeah.
So he moved over here, and a lot of people perceive that as a big risk, right? And one of the things we talk about at Positive Atmosphere, and a lot of the teachers in there talk about is, when you're thinking about a risk and you're scared to do something, a lot of times we have this big fear of the unknown and uncertainty. That's a big deal, right?
Yeah.
So it goes way back, certainty. You want to be near water, or you want to be near game. You don't want to go to some new place. I don't know if I'm going to find water or something to eat, right? So it's primal stuff. But the worst case, say you're trying to move out of, the U.S. or Canada, wherever you're from, and come to a place like Thailand. If it doesn't work out, Canada will still be there, and you can buy more stuff. You can go on Craigslist and get some new furniture. It's not that big a deal, I even saw one guy who took a little more risk than most people would. He was on Koh Phangan, one of the islands down in Thailand, and he went past the point where he no longer had enough money to buy a trip back home. So he didn't have the airfare to get home, and it was do or die time. He had like a couple weeks worth of money to live there, and he was just walking around door knocking, asking for jobs. And he's this English guy, and he didn't know what he was going to do. And I admired the guts, and I was hoping the best for him. And then a couple days later, we saw him standing in the busiest intersection where all the backpackers are walking around, handing out flyers for a magic boat tour, which in Thailand lingo means mushrooms or something, So he got on this magic boat tour. He's now a promoter, and he goes on the tour every day. So in the evening, he hands out some flyers. During the day, he goes on this magic boat tour, and he had the guts to stick it out, and he took a risk. Most people don't take that much risk, but if you really commit and go all in, you'd be amazed what can happen. You never know.
I truly believe that.
Yeah.
By putting yourself in a situation where you need to take action, that's when things happen. Like for me, that's actually kind of the same story as my life. I didn't end up selling mushrooms on a boat,
Right?
But I think it was just in May, so just not that many months ago. I was sitting here building the business, not making any money online. I made money from my book sales, but that's really only like $150 a month through Amazon. Because it's really, back then that was a lot of money for me. That was like, I'm trying to get by with the least amount of money possible, dipping into my savings. My savings totally ran out as well. Now, I actually have no idea how many books I sell because I never even look. Because through Amazon, it's never going to be more than $200 or $300, so I don't even bother looking at it anymore. And it's such a different mentality than I was just 5-6 months ago, when I was so broke that every $7 I would make from royalty from a book, that was like
that was dinner.
That was dinner,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, totally.
So I highly recommend people surround yourselves with positive people and start really start looking into the friends that you're around. Are they making your life better or not?
Yeah.
And it's hard because these are people that you've known forever, that you still want to be friends with, even if they're. I think that if someone's a good friend, even if they're not the best influence in my life, I still want that them to be a friend. But sometimes when I'm weak, and I'm having a hard time, I can't have them around. I can't have them dragging me around.
Yeah.
When I'm when things are going well and I'm strong, I can afford the leisure of being able to drag myself with them, and I can still live a great life. But when I'm down, that's the worst time to be around negative people.
Yeah.
Like, what are your thoughts on that?
This topic is super interesting.
Yeah.
The most trafficked blog post we've ever had on Positive Atmosphere is about this topic.
Okay.
And it was called, I think it was How to Detox Your Life from Negative People. And it was Chin wrote it. She was talking about family, friends, coworkers, whatever. And, I remember listening to a Jack Canfield seminar. He's the guy at Chicken Soup for the Soul. And he had some mentor of him. They made him make a list, and you put everybody either in the negative or the positive category. And it was kind of brutal. You can't put them in the middle. You have to choose. Are they a positive influence or a negative influence? And I think it was W. Clement Stone had him do this. And he gave him the list, and the guy kind of looked it over, and he said, okay, now don't hang out with anybody in the negative column for the next, it was like months, 3 months or 6 months or something like that. And he said, but Clem, I think he called him, he said, but my mom is in the negative category. Are you saying don't hang out with my mom for months? And that sounds brutal, but he said, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So there's that extreme. Then there's the other extreme where you just keep hanging out with people that drag you down, and it really will affect you. It's like the crabs in the bucket analogy, you know? Yeah. Like when you said, I want to sell all my stuff and go travel, and people give you all these reasons why you shouldn't. Well, are they the role models you want to listen to? Because they've never done it. Yeah. And they never will, most of them, you know? So, I mean, if you want to go travel and be successful, find people that are doing it. You know, even if it's just by email, you can talk to people. You know, find the role model that's done what you want to do. Don't talk to the people that are never going to do it.
Yeah, like a big influence for me was Tim Ferriss. And,
yeah.
You know, if he didn't write the 4-Hour Work Week, I probably wouldn't have had the balls to do this. Yep. And, you know, now I'm happy, I'm able to kind of lead by example as well. People read my story and they're like, oh, yeah, you know, that's very similar to my situation. You know, if Johnny can do it, maybe I can do it as well.
Yeah.
But now, I mean, one of the things that I do regret is I stopped talking to a lot of my friends because I kind of grew so far apart from them. And also a lot of them were, you know, really holding me back, you know, with wanting to change and wanting to, you know, to grow and better myself. Even, you know, travel or get into other, you know, instead of having a normal job. I mean, I have some really good friends that keep saying, hey, so when are you going to come back and get a normal job? And it was always in the back of my mind thinking, oh, maybe I need to, you know, maybe that's the best way, the only way. But now that, you know, I've completely replaced my normal 9-to-5 income, and I have a legitimate business where that's sustainable for, you know, really the rest of my life. I'm thinking, I'm so glad I didn't fall back into that.
Yeah. And you sit in this room every day with role models that are probably, I'm sure there's somebody in there doing 2-3 times what you're doing, right?
Oh, yeah.
And that's inspiring. You're around it every day, and you're like, wait, that's a regular guy, you know, walks up here in his flip-flops and sits here in the same room I do every day on the computer screen, right?
Well, I mean, look around. Like, is anyone here in a suit? I mean, all we see are flip-flops.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, really. I mean, I don't see one pair of dress shoes outside this place. There's one pair of like tennis shoes.
Yeah, they're not even that nice. A pair of Converse. Hey. So the thing about, you know, being in an environment like this is like, actually I asked Anton, who is episode 10, I believe. Yeah, it's episode 10. I said, hey, if you can get the best job in the best company in New York or back at home, because he's from New York, would you take it? And he didn't even hesitate. He was like, no.
Yeah.
And I was like, I didn't even tell him how much you'd be making it. You know, I'm like, what if you're making, you know, $250,000 a year, and you're working for like Goldman Sachs or, you know, some big good company? And he's like, no way.
Yeah.
He's
so
like,
what for? To fight traffic in Manhattan? And I mean, you know, I'm not saying that's wrong. It's not for me. You know, it's what do you really want? You know.
Yeah. And, you know, what was really cool is just seeing, you know, just hearing the no hesitation. Because if you had offered that to me right now, even though I'm very comfortable making, you know, enough money where I can live, you know, and I kind of just do whatever I want, I'm not making $250,000 a year. And it'd be nice to, you know, and I'd seriously consider it. I'd think about it. But it's nice hearing from people who, you know, have been doing this for a lot longer than I, who are making, you know, even more money than I am, and having them just not even consider that for a second.
Yeah. You know, I've been looking into, have you ever heard of positive psychology? It's like this emerging field. There's a guy from University of Pennsylvania, Martin Seligman. He kind of spearheaded the whole thing, and I'm blanking on the other guy's name from Harvard, but it's becoming more and more popular, and they've done studies about, you know, at what point there's a diminishing return on your investment of time, on the happiness you get out of money. So once you've got the basics covered, your shelter, your food, your medical treatment, you know, enough to be healthy, warm, dry, and fed, you know, after that, doubling and tripling your income doesn't do that much to your level of well-being compared to time with friends, people you enjoy being around, family, leisure time to relax, take a nap, go golfing, whatever you're into. You know, that's the stuff that will, you know, people assume, it's like a lot of people I don't think even think about it, but they think that more money is going to lead them to this state of being more happy. and they don't really ever think about exactly how it's going to do that. But they have this vision of, once I make a bunch of money, I'll have more time to go golfing, I'll be on the beach, I'll be, writing my book, whatever, riding a bicycle across Europe. But they get in that trap and they get stuck on that treadmill, and then they're not doing that stuff, where you can make, $50 a day and live in Chiang Mai and do all of that,
You're actually true about that. A good example is when I first came back to Chiang Mai, I wanted to get the best hotel possible, and really only because I finally, at this point in my life, is the first time I'm able to afford it. And the best hotel in Chiang Mai is still not as expensive as living in a normal apartment back in the U.S. So I figured, hey, why not, right?
Monthly or what? You got me curious.
So monthly. Okay, so back at home. So you live in was it Washington? You said?
Yeah, Bellingham. Yeah.
Bellingham. It's not a big. It's not Seattle.
Nope.
But what would you pay for rent for like a 1-bedroom apartment per month?
$675. Cheap one maybe $550 up to $7 something.
Okay, so around $600 or so.
Yeah, sure.
Right, and if you were to get a 1-bedroom penthouse suite at a nice hotel here, it's about $600 a month.
Nice. That's awesome.
And that's living in a hotel, and that's with a pool, maid service.
Yep.
So that's what I did for the first month. I found the nicest hotel, and I said, hey, what's your best room? And I stayed there for a month, and then I realized, I was like, I'm never even in my room. When I come home, I don't want to cook because Thai food here is great. It's cheap. Yeah. I was like, I'm just sleeping in my room. I'm not even using the living room and the kitchen. Why am I doing this?
Right.
And so now I'm in a normal room, like I'm in a normal hotel room. I still have a nice king size bed, I have a couch, I have flat screen TV, I have maid service still, and it's perfect. It's exact all I need, and that's only $300 a month.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So by me, paying twice as much for my room or paying 4 times as much, I don't think it's gonna make me any happier. I mean, I'm already as happy as I can be with my room.
That's a perfect example right there. Yep, that's exactly the deal. And I think a lot of people don't really stop to consider that,
Well, one big thing about it as well is because of that first month I was in that really expensive room, it prevented me from wanting to leave to travel. And because when I came back, one of the reasons why I came back to Chiang Mai was because I heard Anton was going to be back here. So I was kind of waiting around for him to come back to Chiang Mai so I could ask him, kind of pick his brain about some e-commerce stuff. But he decided to stay in Cambodia for an extra 2 weeks. And if I had gotten a cheap room, I would have just been like, all right, well, let me just leave this room empty.
Yeah, I'll just leave the stuff I don't need on the bed and go.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
And then just go for a week and, not really think about it. But because I had spent all this money on this great room, I was like, well, I might as well just wait around and
make use of it, right?
Exactly.
I paid for it.
Yeah.
That's funny, too, because that fits in with another, marketing principle. You know how when you give somebody something for free, if you give somebody your book for free, they might read it, but they probably won't. But if they pay, I don't know, whatever it is, $15-$20 for it, they're probably going to read it.
Yeah, oh, definitely.
Or they're at least, they're going to start it.
Yeah.
If they're like me.
Well, I know for me, for every time there's free Kindle books, I just download all of them, and I never read them. I just kind of, they're there, and I plan to get around to it someday, but, unless I'm super bored, I don't read it.
The perceived value, right?
Yeah. But if I'm spending $10 on a Kindle book, I'll start reading it as soon as I download it.
Yeah, right, exactly. It's funny, people aren't as rational as we think they are. I mean, yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about your website. All right.
Okay.
So, how long ago did you start Positive Atmosphere?
About 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what made you start it?
Well, I wanted something. I love personal development, self-improvement stuff. That's the kind of thing I'm reading and researching and watching on YouTube all the time anyway. And so I figured if I could do something in that field that would also allow me to be mobile and not tie me down to any one location, because my two passions really are self-improvement and travel.
Okay.
And, I'm big on variety. I like to move around and have different surroundings and things. So I was reading a Zig Ziglar book on a plane. I think I was flying to Dubai. And in the book somewhere, it was basically a challenge. Like, hey, what are you passionate about, and why are you not doing that for work right now? And I thought, okay, so, I'm on this 10-hour flight or something. I had a lot of time to think about it. And I'm going, well, I wrote down everything I was passionate about, but personal development really stuck out, and travel really stuck out, because here I am traveling and reading a personal development book. And I figured, how can I fit those two together? And I think I had also just read The 4-Hour Workweek, which has influenced almost everybody in our field, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So I said, personal development website was kind of a no-brainer. And then I had also been reading at that time about user-generated content, which is totally my style, because I could write a blog post every day, but I'd rather not, and this way stuff is getting posted all the time, and it's a way to leverage your time.
I think the idea of the user-generated content is brilliant, because I have some blogs, and I don't update it as often as I want to, because it takes so much time.
Yeah.
But having a forum-based, actually, what I like about your site is you have both a forum and you have blogs that people can, basically register and create a blog on your site, which brings in traffic as well.
Yeah, and I'll throw a plug out there. If anybody right now is listening and you're an awesome blogger and you're talking about anything, our scope is really wide. It can be travel, it can be health and nutrition, it can be relationships, whatever. If you post a really good blog post and send me a little email or something so I notice it, if it's good, I'll feature it and I'll put it on our Facebook page. Is about 700,000 people. It gets you exposure. You can link to your website. This is the kind of a win-win thing that I set up with a lot of writers. And it gets me good content for Positive Atmosphere, and through that exposure it gets people over to your site, buying your book, signing up for your program, whatever you do. So it's just a win-win deal. I come from real estate where nobody's paid hourly except for the people at the front desk, basically. Everybody, it's, you're splitting and it's based on success. If there's production, if there's money coming in, everybody gets their piece of the pie. But everybody's incentive is to make it happen, because if it doesn't, nobody gets paid, right? So that's how I like to set up things, so everybody's incentive is aligned. I'm not buying blog posts. I'm allowing people to post them, and then I'll feature them. And
yeah, so if you guys, are looking for a place to guest blog, and you have something to write about that has anything to do with positive thinking, travel, how to get off your butt, and you're a good writer, you make a good blog post, it potentially can reach 70,000 people.
Yeah, and if you wrote a good blog post 2 years ago that you think is appropriate for our site, I'm not one of these guys who's going, hey, I have to have total control of this content. It has to be unique and nowhere else. I've done that with, revived people's blog posts that were a hit last year, put it on our site, it's a hit again, get them exposure all over again. It's like a syndicated column in a newspaper. That's how I think of it. You want to be a columnist in my newspaper? Cool.
Awesome, I like that.
I
really like that.
Copy and paste it to my website and let's go.
Cool. So the site, it looks nice, and what's the software you use to make this site?
That's the secret sauce. It's
Okay.
Ning,
Okay.
and it's easy. So if you're not a programmer, it's about, what would it be like? It's about as complicated as starting a WordPress.com blog.
Okay.
It's like you can drag and drop your little pieces here and where you want them. You can choose to have blogs and videos or not. It's pretty easy. If you can run a Facebook page, you can probably run a Ning website.
Okay. And is Ning a paid service?
Yeah, and I believe it's about $30 a month, and I think there are a couple different levels. I forget the exact pricing.
Okay. But yeah, I've heard of Ning as well.
Yeah.
And you were saying earlier that Dynamite Circle, they use Ning as well.
Yeah, and that includes your hosting too. So you're good. And I can't even remember the last time the server went down, which is nice.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you guys were out there listening, were wanting to create some kind of community site, Ning, you get started today.
Yep.
Make it up.
Literally, pick your town, think of something there isn't a group for, or find something where there's a popular Facebook group, and talk to whoever runs that. Start your Ning site, have them bring traffic over to you. It's a no-brainer. You can have a really active 100-member type site, or you can have something with 1 million people in it.
Yeah, that's awesome. But when did you start monetizing this?
Pretty much right away.
Okay.
I put AdSense on it basically as soon as I figured out how to embed an ad.
Okay.
And I've just been learning on the job. I'm not a programmer at all. But yeah, I remember the first time I made any money on AdSense, it was hilarious because I think I got 13 cents on a click, and I felt like I won the lottery.
I've heard that story a lot from people.
Yeah.
Because it's like you're making money from nothing.
Yeah. Well, and once you know it works, you just do more of it.
Yeah.
And the internet is so scalable. I'm going, okay, I have barely any traffic. I just made 13 cents. All I have to do is, 100,000 times that amount of traffic and, get the calculator out. And you're like, oh, man, next week I'm going to be making 3,000 a day, But just do the math. That is how it works.
Yeah. And it's absolutely crazy that it works so easily. And, now that you're exploring different ways, because AdSense, I do agree that AdSense is a great way to get started. It's, it takes a few minutes to set up. A lot of people, the reason why they don't want to use AdSense is they have this misconception where they get 2 cents a click. And I think that used to be the case.
And maybe in some, when you're, on certain types of content, maybe. But yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, I remember that's what it used to be a long time ago. when advertising was really cheap, and that's the reason why I never used AdSense. But then now everything's at least 50 cents. I mean, and some things. I mean, if you're hitting the right keywords, either the content's about, let's say, like payday loans or something.
Yeah.
Some of those clicks might be like $7.
Yeah, I've heard a couple, and this is old information, but what is it? Mesothelioma? Is that? I think it's the name of the cancer that you get if you inhale a bunch of asbestos. Like a bunch of people in the Navy or working in factories. The lawyers that go basically and try to sue companies, they can go make $300,000. I've heard the payouts per click can be like $300 on that keyword.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. So I mean, at the end of the day, all you really need is a site that has people that has content that people want to come to look at, to read. So if you use something like Ning, or if you use Blogger, use WordPress, and you make a site that has good content. I like your Ning route because you don't have to write any of it yourself. I mean, I'm sure in the beginning, you have to do a lot more work to kind of get up and running.
It's mostly clicking boxes and unclicking boxes, choosing what you want the site to do, and your preferences. It's pretty easy. But
at the end of the day, if you have enough traffic and you have people that if you have good content and good traffic, the actual monetizing part of it is really easy. That's the fun part. I mean, that's why I was so excited when I looked at your site and I saw how much traffic you were getting, and I saw how many likes you have on Facebook, and I was like, I just thought of 5 ways. I was like, all right, so here's the 5 different ways that you can monetize it and make a couple $1,000s a month just from that.
And while we're talking about monetizing, there's some other little things I've been trying lately. Have you ever heard of My Likes?
No.
That's when you said 2 cents a click, it made me think of My Likes. That's something I do also. So I think if you're on the consumer side of things, you go to likes.com. If you're a guy with an account, it's called My Likes. You go in there, and I tend to post like the 10 healthiest vegetarian holiday meals, or things that are about health or relationships, or things that are funny, because that's positive. Like animal Halloween costumes. That was a big one around Halloween. Photography projects, whatever. You post these links. I post them on the Facebook page, and we've got about 700,000 people. For each click, I'm getting 1 to 3 cents.
Okay.
And My Likes, I'm actually making more from My Likes now than I am from AdSense.
Wow.
And that's from the Positive Thinking Facebook page. That's directly where they're coming from. And then you've got, if you want to get started, if you've heard about affiliate marketing and you want to try it, like you said, there's ClickBank, there's Commission Junction. Probably the simplest way to get started, if you just want to get practicing, I'd say Amazon, Amazon Associates. The commission is really low, but you can sell anything from a Frisbee to a book to a TV, probably furniture. I don't know. Almost everything's on Amazon, and you can get a cut of any of that.
I'm taking a look right now on the Facebook page, and you have all these cool photos with these great quotes. Like the one I'm looking at right now has, it looks like it's made really well. It has, pictures of flowers, and it says, "Happiness is a state of mind. It's just according to the way you look at things." And there's tons of these, and you say you post one of these per hour?
Yeah.
Like, how do you? I mean, you're not physically posting
No,
it per
I'm
hour?
not. And I've got people from Odesk, which, a lot of people have heard of Odesk or Elance, but they're basically sites where you go and buy labor, and you can search all different kinds of skills. I have somebody that schedules all these posts for me. I've got 2 different people that are graphic designers, and I basically tell them to go to places with Creative Commons pictures. Like Flickr is a great example. That's probably the biggest example. You go to Flickr, where the photographers they let you use the stuff even for commercial purposes, and all you have to do is credit the photographer. So they do that, and then I have a Google Doc. I mean, I'm basically telling you, if you want to do exactly what I'm doing, here's how you do it. Go get a Google Doc, put all, whatever your content is. For me, it's a lot of inspiring quotes. And then you have somebody from Odesk put them on the pictures for you. And the person from Odesk, if you're comfortable making them an admin for your page, you have them schedule the posts. And so you're really doing nothing except for I'm curating. I'm making sure I like all the quotes, and I see the images before they're posted in case there's a typo. Like a funny example, I forget what the quote was. I should remember this. But it was something about hope, I think. Okay. And the background picture was a noose. And I think it was just like a cultural, the person that made that image didn't really know what a noose represented.
Okay.
I was like, oh my gosh. I'm so happy I saw that before it was posted.
So, that is really good that you double check it, because I think a lot of people listening, including myself, would be tempted, like, oh, I don't have to do any of this. I can just set it up, forget about it, and not even look at it.
Yeah. And you could, but I mean, you want to be careful. It's your reputation on the line.
Yeah.
If your name's on it. Probably a lot of people listening, they have sites that have kind of generic names, and there's no persona there representing the product or anything. But
no, but I think at the end of the day, that's the best way to do it, is to really care about what's coming out. I mean, so I like how you kind of walk a balance between outsourcing a lot of the stuff where so it's not tedious, because I can imagine this being very tedious. You have to look through Flickr, look for photos, look for the quotes, put it on. Because I mean, the actual graphic part of it is not that hard. I mean, you can just paste these quotes on, credit the photographer, put your website URL on, and then upload it. And that's not a big deal for if you just want to do it once. Yeah. But if you're doing it every hour, that would it's 1,000% better to have someone else do it.
It's what, like $700 a month or something. It's 24 a day times 30, whatever that is.
Yeah, exactly. And
that's a lot of images to and when you can go on Odesk and you can get people, and you might have to try a few people before you get some people that you like and you keep working with. I did, but for anywhere from $1 to $4 an hour, $5 an hour. I mean, depending on where they are in the world, you can definitely pay more. But I just tried a whole bunch of people out. A lot of them were in the Philippines, other places in Southeast Asia. I have a great assistant in Croatia, and like I say, I did the shotgun approach. I did a job that was the minimum amount you could do, which was $5 at the time. And I said, make me 15 or 20 pictures. And I just gave a whole bunch of people the $5 job. And the people that did an awesome job, I rehired them. And the people that didn't, that their English wasn't good enough or they didn't have, the aesthetics were bad, I just didn't rehire them. Okay. It was like a $5 interview.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I really like your take on outsourcing. This is one of the best ways to use things like Odesk and Freelancer. A lot of people think that they can use these services and have people create an entire company for them or make money for them. Yeah. That's not the way it works. But these little tasks like this, it's perfect for.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Dan and Ian, the guys from they started the Dynamite Circle and what do they call? It's the Tropical MBA now. Yeah. Give them a little plug. I really like their podcast.
Yeah, me as well.
Yeah. So, where was I going with that? Outsourcing.
So they outsource.
Oh yeah,
stuff.
Things that are repeatable and are making money, you shouldn't be doing them. I think they say if it makes money, you shouldn't be doing it. Which is if you can write a description of exactly step by step what to do, and you can pay somebody to do it and make money on that, you just leveraged your time.
Yeah.
And you freed yourself up to go look into other opportunities. Like for me right now, what I need to be spending my time on is talking with authors I really like about promoting, their seminars or their book or whatever, and making new relationships, not sitting there trying to learn. I don't even know how to use Photoshop. The images I used to make, I used Paint. Okay. So like, my time is better spent doing other things. I mean, these people are already great with the Photoshop, and they're up and running. So,
yeah, 100%. I like that. I mean, for me, the only employee I have right now currently is I have someone who answers all my calls for me that I hired from Odesk. She's from South Carolina, so she has that great accent where people know she's American. Versus you calling in. And to be honest, I was very, very tempted to hire a guy from India, because he was reliable and he actually, I knew he's going to be, he's going to pick up every call. He's going to say my scripts perfectly. He actually would have been a better employee. But the fact that, she's American, she has that accent, and, she's she's a mother, so people, they can kind of hear that warmth in her voice. She can kind of mess up a lot more answering the call.
Sure.
Not know the answers to the questions, that people are okay with it.
And she'll just laugh it off. And
But what was great is, because of the time difference, I wake up, and what I do is, like this morning for whatever reason, probably because it's Monday here, I had like 6 voice call, like all the calls recorded, so I can hear exactly what she was saying to the customer. And there's
that's interesting. Yeah, cool.
So there's tons for me to go through, which is, to be honest, a little bit annoying that that I had to go through it. But I figured it would take me the same amount of time or more to have to answer those calls live myself.
So are you doing that halfway out? Is that quality control, or do you need to know what they're talking about? Or?
It's quality control now.
Yeah, because she's a new employee?
Because she's a new employee.
Okay, that's awesome that you can listen to the actual conversation.
Yeah.
And she knows that, right?
And she knows it.
So she's going to be on her game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I just give little pointers here and there. So, okay, next time say this, next time say this, do this.
That's killer. And you use some software for that?
I use eVoice. Yeah. So eVoice.com.
What that reminds me of is with Odesk, and you use Odesk, so you probably know you get these random timed screenshots of what your employee is doing, and it shows you the level of activity. Do you look at these?
No, never.
Oh, it's in there. You should check it out. It's under reports. So when I've got my people, they say they did 3 hours of work making images for me, I can go, and I pretty much trust them, but I like to see how fast they're working. So I go and I look, and it measures keystrokes on the
Oh,
the
wow.
computer
Okay.
and mouse movement, and it gives like an average amount of activity for this 10-minute section or
Oh,
whatever.
wow, okay.
So it's just got this bar from like 0 to 10, and it shows that they're at like mostly an 8, but for a minute here they were at a 10, and then they're at a 2, which probably means they ran to the bathroom without logging off or something. So it's, and you get a screenshot too. So if they're on Facebook, you'll know it, and they don't know when it's going to take the
Wow,
screenshot.
that is cool.
So if they're going to check Facebook real quick, they might get burned, right? So they
Yeah.
don't do it. It's
Nice.
it's
I like
amazing.
that.
So if you're uncomfortable about, wait, how am I going to oversee somebody on the other side of the world? How can I trust them? That's how.
There's tons of these methods, and it makes it so easy. I mean,
Yeah.
you know what?
'Cause I've had friends ask me that. Well, how do you know they're even working? How do you know they don't just work an hour and charge you for 5? And I was like, funny you asked. Let me show
there
you.
go. Yeah.
This
So, yeah, like for mine, it's 100% trackable because I hear these exact conversations.
That's
you know?
great. That's very Big Brother of you.
Yeah, thank you.
Very, very NSA of you.
I think eventually what I'll do is I won't listen to all the calls. I'll probably just kind of randomly
Yeah.
jump in here and there. But at the same time, you know what? Like, it doesn't really take me any time because I can listen to it in the background while checking email, doing other things. And then if I hear something, you know, I can just make a note saying, hey,
Yeah.
say this next time.
Yeah, right.
You know, and I can do this at my leisure. I don't have to do this, you know,
Yep.
because it's probably, you know, what, 2 in the morning in the U.S. right now. So all the calls, you know, like by the time I wake up, it's already 7 p.m. Because it's 8 a.m. here in Chiang Mai,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't have picked up those calls anyways. And you know, for example, you know, we made a $1,000 sale that she took over the phone because the customer was having problems inputting it on her computer for whatever reason, probably browser issue, you
Yeah.
know. But it, you know, I would have lost that sale. So for the fact that she took that order over the phone. And even though it took her 12 minutes of phone time to do it,
Yeah.
and she, you know, she wasn't really that comfortable doing it either, ended up being a sale, made a couple $100s from it. So that right there paid for her entire months of ODES fees.
Yeah. Now, how does that work? Is it when she picks up the phone, she's on the clock type of thing?
Yeah.
Or
So
you're not paying her to file her nails and wait for a phone call?
No,
right?
no, definitely not. So she actually asked for $15 an hour, which is pretty average for you know, ODESK employees in the U.S.
Yeah.
And then I told her, I said, you know what, I'll give you $30 an hour, but I'm only going to pay you for the time you're on the phone.
Right.
So, you know, if the average call is 5 to 10 minutes, you know, if each of those calls, she makes $5.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm happy to pay that as long as
Especially when it results in $200 in your pocket.
exactly
Right? Yeah.
right. So I mean, overall, it's working fantastic. She's happy because
So she's doing other things, right?
she can do other things.
Yeah, that's great. So she's sitting there working for somebody else probably, and then the phone rings
Yeah,
and she pauses that.
I would actually love for her to get more gigs and jobs
Yeah.
with other people doing like writing or blog posts or editing or whatever. That way she'll just be at home next to the phone on
So
her
somebody
computer.
listening that wants to hire her should email you, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I want to give away my gal.
You don't want to overload that person.
Exactly.
I have the same thing because I have friends who do things similar to me, and part of me wants to recommend my assistants to them, and then the other part of me, I'm going, wait, okay, this person, I have one person that's working 20 hours or about 22 hours a week for me. I'm like, you know, they can't take on that many other people before, and what if that person pays them like a little more than me, and then I lose them, you know?
Yeah.
But you know, that's scarcity mindset.
Exactly.
stuff.
You know, but there's plenty of you know, of people out there. I mean, and to be honest, it's taking about 3 weeks to train her to even say my URL right. Like,
right, yeah.
So she's definitely not the best employee out there, but it's working out, you
Yeah.
know. And I spent a lot of time training her up, but it's at the end of the day, you know, it works. So why not, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I had an answering service back before everything was online, and it was a call-in thing, and so I called it to see if they were doing a good job. They couldn't even say my name right. That was
Yeah.
when I was in real estate, and so I wanted an after-hours phone service when I didn't feel like picking up my phone. Somebody to take a message, get the phone number so I could call them back in the morning. But, you know, my name's Dan O'Donnell, and this person's going, this is, I don't know, the secretary for Dan O'Donnell or O'Connell
my
or
God.
whatever, and it's a different person every time, you know?
Yeah.
They're just trying to read what popped up on the screen.
Oh, I see.
And it's like the first time they've even seen it, maybe, you know?
Yeah, that's the other good thing about hiring someone from ODES is, you know, all the time you spend training them, as long as they stick with you,
Yep.
you know, they're your employee, you know, for life, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not using him currently, but for a while I had a bookkeeper from India making $6.73 an hour, was the equivalent of a CPA in America, and you know was familiar already with filing taxes and doing all kinds of things with U.S. and he had British clients, Australian clients. It's wide open. You can have people check your email from Odesk if you want.
Yeah, so I mean, finally, it took me a long time to figure out how to really use outsourced labor correctly. I think the biggest problem was after reading the 4-Hour Workweek, everyone thought
Yep.
how great it is to outsource.
And they all think that Timothy Ferriss works a 4-hour work week, right?
Yeah.
Just because it's the title of his book.
But I think what it is you can't use freelancer or Odesk or any outsourced labor if you're not making money yet.
Right.
Don't try to use them to for things that don't make money yet.
I would say there's one exception to that.
What is that?
People pay money to go to school and learn things, right?
Okay.
So if you want to hire somebody for 3 hours a week at $2 an hour and you want to learn how to use Otis, that might be a good idea.
Okay.
But I understand your point and totally agree.
But I think what I would recommend to everyone is do everything manually first. Do everything yourself first. So you really learn the process. Yep. You make money from it. And then if you can replicate it,
and you're a Kiyosaki student from what I hear, right?
Okay,
Kiyosaki says the same exact thing. He's a big real estate guy, right?
Okay.
And I have some real estate background in rentals and stuff. And he says, manage your own stuff for the first year, maybe 2, so that you know how to manage a property so you're not getting ripped off by your property manager when you hire one.
Exactly.
So that's important to know the process before you try to delegate it.
Yeah. Very cool, man. So this has been fun.
Yeah, I feel like we could keep going for all day if we wanted. But
yeah, definitely. Yeah. So people want to get in touch with you. What's your sites and your Facebook?
Yeah, I'm Dan O'Donnell, again, on Facebook. There's about 1 million of us, but you can go to Positive Thinking, and the URL is actually better. So it's facebook.com/positive atmosphere. That'll take you to our page. You can send me a message there, or just go to positiveatmosphere.com, and I'm on there, Dan O'Donnell. Send me a message that way. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Nice.
And if you're into positive thinking, check it out. I think you'll like it.
Yeah, that's cool. And what I'll do is, if you guys want to go to the show notes for episode 13 of the Travel Like a Boss podcast, I'll put up some of these cool photos he has that have these inspirational quotes, and I'll give a link to everything that we talked about, including the Facebook and the website, because I'm sure a lot of people can't spell atmosphere.
Yeah, atmopsphere. That's the biggest misspelling, yeah.
All right. Awesome. All right, we enjoyed the rest of your time here in Chiang Mai.
Thanks, Johnny.
Thanks for
cool, I'm going to read your book, too. Everybody go buy Johnny's book.
Thanks, buddy. All right, peace out, guys.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to the Travel Like a Boss podcast. If you want to hear more, including the bonus How to Choose the Perfect Niche episode, join our mailing list at travellikeabosspodcast.com. See you next week, and remember, if you want to travel like a boss, you need to be your own boss. So start your online business today and start living the lifestyle you've always dreamed of.